All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to talk about something that completely flips the script on success. It's this powerful, kind of counterintuitive secret to performing your best, and honestly, it might just change how you see, well, everything. So let's start with the formula we've all been taught to live by. Yeah, this one probably sounds familiar, right? If you work hard, you'll be successful, and then you'll be happy. I mean, this is the deal we've been sold our entire lives by our schools, our parents, our bosses, you name it. The message is crystal clear. Grind it out, get the big win, hit the goal, and then, and only then, you get the reward of being happy. Success first, happiness later. But here's the big question. What if that whole formula is just broken? What if the very thing we've built our entire lives around is completely backward? What if chasing success to get happy is actually the thing that's keeping us from both? And here's why it's so flawed. Think about it. You finally get that promotion you've been working for, and what happens? Suddenly, your eyes are on the next promotion. You smash your sales target, and boom, the company just raises the goal for next quarter. Every time you score a victory, the goalposts for success just get pushed further and further away. And happiness, well, that just stays on the horizon, always just out of reach. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. This brings us to a concept called the happiness advantage, based on the work of researcher Sean Aker. And the whole idea is that we've got the formula completely reversed. It's not about working harder so you can finally be happy. It's about getting happier so you can achieve more. And this visual just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the old formula. Hard work leads to success, which then leads to happiness. It's this long, drawn-out process where happiness is this far-off prize. But look at the happiness advantage. It flips that whole thing on its head. Happiness comes first. It's not the result of your success. It's the fuel for it. So what do we actually mean by the happiness advantage? Well, it's a very real, scientifically backed competitive edge that your brain gets when it's positive. Seriously, we're talking about your brain being more motivated, more resilient when things get tough, more creative in solving problems, and way more productive. A positive brain isn't just a happy brain. It's a high-performance brain. It's literally wired to work better. Okay, I know what some of you are probably thinking. This all sounds great, be positive, but where's the actual proof? Is this just feel-good stuff? Nope. There's over a decade of solid research from the fields of positive psychology and neuroscience that backs all of this up with some pretty jaw-dropping evidence. The poet John Milton nailed this centuries ago when he said, "The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven." And that really gets to the core of it, right? Our reality isn't just the external events that happen to us. It's how our brain chooses to interpret those events. Our mindset is the filter, the lens for everything we experience. And check out this real-world example of mindset in action. It's pretty stunning. At Harvard, you've got some of the most privileged students on the planet, and yet many of them see their schoolwork as this huge, stressful chore. Now, contrast that with a school in Soweto, South Africa. When researchers asked students there, students whose parents often never had the chance to get an education, if they liked their schoolwork, a whopping 95% of them raised their hands. Think about that. It's the same activity, but one mindset sees a burden, while the other sees an incredible privilege. And this isn't just about how we feel either. This stuff has real, measurable results. Let's take doctors, for example. If you put a doctor in a positive mood right before they have to make a diagnosis, their brain literally functions better. We're talking 3 times more intelligence and creativity. And the result of that? They make the correct diagnosis 19% faster, just by starting from a positive place. And it's not just in medicine. This pops up everywhere. Look at sales. Optimistic salespeople don't just do a little bit better than their pessimistic colleagues. They outsell them by a staggering 56%. 56. I mean, that's not a small difference. That is the happiness advantage playing out in the real world. So you might be wondering, if this is so powerful, why isn't it common knowledge? Well, for a long, long time, the field of psychology was basically obsessed with what's average, or, well, below average. They called it the cults of the average. The whole goal was to figure out how to get someone from a -8 back to a 0, back to normal. But here's the problem with that. If all you ever study is what's average, you're never going to learn how to be exceptional. And this chart really just says it all. Get this. As recently as 1998, for every single study about happiness or human thriving, there were 17 studies about depression and mental disorders, a 17-to-1 ratio. So psychology had become an expert on what can go wrong with us, but it knew almost nothing about what makes us go right. And that's exactly why the whole field of positive psychology was created, to finally fix that massive imbalance. Okay, so we've covered the why. We get that a positive brain is a better performing brain. But that leads to the big question, right? The how. How do we actually do this? Well, the great news is that the research gives us a clear toolkit, a set of 7 actionable principles we can use to literally retrain our brains and build this advantage for ourselves. And this is that toolkit right here. These are the 7 principles. For instance, there's something called the Tetris effect, which is all about training your brain to spot opportunities and positives instead of just scanning for problems. Or the Zorro circle, which is a genius way to regain a sense of control when you're totally overwhelmed by focusing on one small, manageable thing. And then there's social investment, which shows that one of the single biggest predictors of our success is the strength of our social support system. Each one of these is a real, concrete strategy you can start using. And all of this brings us to what might be the most important takeaway of all. This isn't just about slapping a smile on your face or thinking positive thoughts. It's much deeper. It's about completely reframing how we think about happiness itself, especially when it comes to our work and our ambitions. Here's the bottom line. The happiness we're talking about isn't that fleeting mood that comes and goes. It's not the prize you get after you cross the finish line. It's a work ethic. Think about that. It's a set of skills and mental habits that you can practice, that you can get better at every single day. It's the active ingredient you put in to fuel your performance, not the passive reward you get at the end. And that really leaves us with this final, powerful thought. Real happiness isn't about ignoring the bad stuff or pretending problems don't exist. Not at all. It's the deep down realization that you can change, that you have the power to grow and to improve your reality. It's shifting from I have to change to I can change. So the real question is, what could you achieve if that's where you started every single day?